Hey everybody, this is part one of a two-part video. I've shot an introduction for this. I tried to shoot this as one part all the way through. Couldn't make it work. What it is it's basically comparing just stacking wood and winter storage to if you have the opportunity to build yourself some sort of structure around the wood. I hope it explains itself. I hope it gets the point across. I'm not really quite sure it does. We'll see. Let me know what you think. And for the structure that I use in this for stacking wood, that's part two of the video. I just made it a separate part. It was much easier. It's how to build the little structure, simple, easy structure. Anyway, thanks for watching, and hope you get something out of it, and have a great day. Okay, I've been working on this one for a while until I got a really good example of snow on the firewood. And what we're going to go over here is the benefits of even the simplest of structures around your firewood for maintaining quality wood to burn throughout the course of the winter and ease of access. The two examples that I'm using is the simplest structure that I could come up with in regards to sheltering the wood, and the next one is merely a stack of wood on a pallet with the tarp. I guess this is really the simplest, but it's not the single most efficient. So let's start with the wood on the tarp. I do have wood stacked on a pallet. No matter where you're doing your wood, you're going to want to stack it on a pallet to keep it up off the ground. Wood does wick moisture. In this particular circumstance, you can see my wood is about 6 inches off the ground. We'll pull a close-up in on this, and it is just stacked wood. The problem with just stacked wood and a tarp is when you get snow on it in particular, or rain, it pulls the tarp in between the wood and down in an uneven areas, and it either pools the water and snow or it lets it melt. Of course, the tarp will heat that snow up and melt it. And the other problem is that your tarp setup, and this is even with the structure, if you have a tarp over wood that goes to the ground all the time, you're trapping moisture in the structure, and you're going to be keeping the moisture circulating on the wood. And that'll happen even in cold weather when the sun hits the tarp. So the first thing that we're going to look at is ease of cleaning the snow material, in this particular case, off of the wood. And the stacked wood, now, these are pieces of log that I use to keep the tarp from blowing around. I use 2x4 to keep the tarp from blowing around. I have a couple other pieces of lumber on here, a couple other logs. And all in all, it does make it, because it's all uneven, and then you got to get the material off. Makes it a little difficult. You can't just move the things around. You got to get them off. Now, what you're going to see is, when I start cleaning this, is how the dips and valleys, because it's unsupported underneath, make it difficult. So, tools I'm using are simply a snow shovel, and I'll do the bulk of the stuff material on the tarp with that. Now, I understand a lot of people are going to be tempted to say that you can just pull the tarp off, but if you're stacking your wood in any consolidated form, this is a 9x4 foot pallet that the wood is on, and then there's the problem with just rolling the tarp back is twofold. One is, if you just roll the tarp back, you have a 9x4 foot area that you're just taking 6 inches of snow and piling it right against the back of your pile of firewood. You try not to do that, because in fair weather even in the winter, you don't want to leave your wood under tarp. So I try always to get it off first with a shovel. And then I got my old broom, which is very helpful, especially in the uneven areas, as you can see, for flicking the snow off. And the more you can get off, as you can see here, the better. Now I've got it to a point where I should be able to just roll my tarp back. Got this big heavy hickory block on here. So I'm going to roll my tarp back now. Now, part of the problem with doing this is that when you're rolling snow, if that snow hits in between your stacks of wood at the wrong time and you're not paying attention, the weight of the snow will pull the tarp right down there, and it becomes an awful pain in the derriere to get out. So you want to try and avoid that. Okay, now you don't have to do this every time you want to access wood, of course, but you do want to get your snow off of your tarp covering. Okay? And then just pull it back and it exposes your pile. Now, this is probably the cheapest way to store your firewood. And it works. It works specifically much better if you have a pallet to put on the bottom to keep the wood up off the ground. And it's easier to get the snow off if you can keep your split wood stacked nice and evenly. This is basic structure number 2. This is as simple as it gets for an actual structure around your wood. It's made out of pallets. It's extremely effective. It's extremely cost effective. And it's so easy to manage and do. It's unbelievable. So I have logs up here for another project. And just as another cute little extra, the way I have it set up here is I can keep a mallet and a pickaroon up here. All right, you're going to notice, first thing you're going to notice about this, is the flatness. Get that on top. And that's what makes it very easy to clean. Keeping a pickaroon around for something like this, I should have used it on the tarp one too, does make it a lot easier to clear stuff off in the snow. Of course, touching snow is bad for your hands. I don't really have any place else to keep these locust logs, so I was kind of using them as extra weights up here. You'll see how I've done it when we get there. But still, no matter how you slice this, cleaning this off is 1,000 times easier than fighting with just a stack. Oopsie. All right. Now, what this is a plywood topped structure made out of pallets and scrap plywood. It's flat on top. I have pieces of scrap plywood rips on the top to hold the tarp in place, which, as you'll see, makes cleaning the top of this off 1,000 times easier than cleaning off the other one. I mean, some of this plywood still has nails in it, just so you know. So you're looking at an awful lot easier, even in spite of the fact that my shovel is hitting on nails. You get the bulk off with the shovel just like the other one. And then all I got to do is dust it off with the broom. But because it's a flat surface with no dips, everything goes quite a bit faster. Now, I don't even really have to do this with the way this is set up, and I'm going to tell you, you'll see that in a second. The way this is built, I could just leave the snow on there because this roof here is sloped away from me. And because it's sloped away from me, any water from melting material or rain will run off that way. Okay? And another thing is in the middle of snowstorms, for instance, or a rainstorm, you got to come out and get wood. The beauty of this system is you don't have to clean anything off of it in order to get into the wood. You can just lift up a section of the tarp, get what you need, get out, get it in your tote and get it back into the house and be done with it. As you're pulling things off, in particular with snow, with the stacks of firewood, the snow is now falling into where the wood was. So if you didn't bring enough wood into the house, you have to come out in the middle of a snowstorm, in particular a bad one, gets a little nasty. The cleaning off and the reachability are two of the big benefits of this. In order to open this up, you don't have to take the tarp off and put it back on and clean the tarp all the way back off. All you have to do is fold up the front and the sides, and you fold up the back too. Chuck something on top to keep the tarps up, and you're golden. You are done. You have a through airflow, keeps your wood dry. You don't have anything pinned in by your tarp, and your tarps readily go back on. You just drop them right back down, and you're ready for your next storm, whatever weather event is going to happen. So, that being said, let's just take a quick look at how this is actually constructed, how simple it is, and that'll be it for the video.